So, man, I've been watching a lot of videos, people talking about the state of the movie industry. Okay. They're talking about how all these films look the same. They're just a bunch of comic book movies, a bunch of cookie cutter action films, love stories. Okay. And they've come up with a lot of interesting comments, opinions about the topic. They said, hey, you know what? A lot of these movies make all their money or most of their money in the first 2 weeks. So the studio is afraid to take chances or take risk. Okay. They want to put something out there that people are familiar with, something that you like, and something that they know you will run out there and go see. So they're not going to take a risk, okay, because they need you to come out there those first 2 weeks and make that money. Okay. I watched one video where the guy was saying, hey, you know what? Um, the, Worldwide, a lot of movies make their money worldwide in other foreign markets now. It's not just the United States. Well, back in the day, United States was the only big market they were worried about. Okay, you had pictures that weren't really even released in other countries, so they didn't care. Okay, it wasn't a big thing. Now China is the second biggest market. Okay, so a lot of film studios are concerned with that overseas market to the point now where, some people are saying that, hey, maybe they're dumbing down the movies, maybe they're trying to find stuff that has universal appeal. Okay, again, that stuff like comic book movies, stuff like Spider-Man or certain action pictures, those have universal appeal. Okay. And there's some truth to that. I actually read some years ago, one of the reasons why you don't have that many Westerns anymore is that while Westerns are very popular in the United States, they're not really, American Westerns are not that popular worldwide. So that's one of the big reasons why you don't have that many of them being made anymore. So there's some truth to that. Okay. They don't like that. So there's a bunch of different reasons why people have given us to the problems in modern day film. Okay, I'll go over some more real quick. I watched a video where someone was saying that they think part of the problem is a lot of the talent has went to the streaming or TV. That might be true to some extent. I've watched some very good stuff on streaming and TV over the last couple of years. I've watched a bunch of garbage as well. I'm not too certain about that. I'm not too certain about that at all. Okay. Another possibility might be that you have a lot of young, talented people going into the film industry and they can't get an opportunity. Okay. They wrote a very interesting book or they wrote a good script. And they go to the studio and they say, "Oh no, we're not interested in this." But a couple of months or years down the road, they still out there and they take it. So maybe if some of these people actually had an opportunity to get into the industry, you would get more original stuff. But they're too busy stealing their stuff and screwing it up, making it bland. I think the best explanation, though, was given by Bruce Campbell. Now, he's the star of the Evil Dead films. He's done a bunch of other stuff over the years, but people mainly know him for Evil Dead. I read a book, and it was called, I think, If Chins Could Talk. And they asked Bruce Campbell this question about the state of the film industry. And he said, hey, look, back in the day, you had small studios, mid-level studios, and big studios. Now, big studios make expensive blockbuster films, but they're very formulaic, okay? They're the roller coaster rides that Scorsese, I think, was talking about. I think that was a person, okay? Or roller coaster rides or whatever, okay? And that's fine. Those movies have always been here. The problem is now that it seems like there's more and more of those. But Bruce Campbell was saying, look, back in the day, you could go to the big film studios and you could say, hey, I got this idea, I'm gonna get this movie made. And they say, hey man, nah, that's too violent, too dark. Nah, we can't touch that subject matter. So you could go to the mid-level studios. And sometimes they would half the time they might make the film, half the time they wouldn't. Okay. Now the mid-level studios, they still had very nice budgets, good special effects. They could still do some good stuff. Maybe not on the scale of the big studios, but they still could do it. Now, if the mid-level studios didn't like you, you could go to the small studios. Now, the small studios didn't have as much money. The effects would look good, but they would touch ideas that the other two wouldn't. They would touch films that were violent, had nudity in them, or whatever, or dark subject matter. Maybe the movie was about suicide or something, whatever. They would do that, when the other two wouldn't. Okay, so you got a bunch of movies back in the day, that from these small studios that might have been, garbage, but you also got some very original stuff that the other ones wouldn't mess with. Okay, so that's the thing. I mean, back in the day, like Canon, if you remember a film studio called Canon, Canon made some garbage. Okay, don't get me wrong. I watched a lot of Canon films, but they made some really good movies, and they made some stuff that was so bad it was good. Okay, but they made movies the other two wouldn't mess with. Okay, the mid-level film studios made a lot of stuff that the big budget movies studios would not mess with. Okay, so everybody had their own little area, and I think by it being that way, you got more originality. You got the films that are just crazy and off the chain. Okay, you got the mid level stuff and the higher stuff. You got good movies. You got more of a variety. Now you're just getting the big budget stuff because a lot of the small studios unfortunately went out of business, or they got bought up, and a lot of the big studios have went and purchased the mid level stuff. You don't really have that many mid level studios, as far as I know. It's a lot of these big studios. So these big studios only make one type of movie. So I think that's your problem. And I think Bruce Campbell's right about that. I think he has the best explanation. I mean, just my thoughts, but I think he's right.